On this week's episode, a review of Spirited, starring Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. An awesome interview with an actor and performer from that very same movie. Some filming that may disrupt some local Boston area traffic. And we have a chat with a big-time Hollywood casting director. For The Hub on Hollywood, I'm James.
I'm Jamie, and I cannot wait to share this one with you. Oh my goodness.
Let's go.
Star Eyes, Star Eyes, Star Eyes. Let's go.
All right, Jamie, we are back for another jam-packed episode. This is a really good one because we got some interviews with locals who know what they're talking about, know what they're doing in the local film-making industry.
I'm so excited, James. Okay, so we've got a woman from Medford who got to sing alongside Ryan Reynolds in the movie Spirited. And we're talking to Billy Dowd, who, I probably will say this again, he is a titan. He is one of the big-time Hollywood casting directors. He does a lot of work here in Massachusetts, and he is from here, from the New England region. So we're very excited to be talking to Billy and sharing all of his insights and his amazing stories. We'll tell you which big Hollywood A-list actor, owes Billy for getting his SAG card, for getting his union card. I mean, it's just going to be fantastic. So stick around to the end of our podcast for that one. Before we get there, we have a few things that we need to let you know about, especially if you are here in the New England area.
Absolutely. There's a movie that is shooting on a local bridge known as the Tobin Bridge this weekend, and Mass DOT, the local transportation department for the state, is telling folks, be prepared because it may interfere slightly with your holiday travels a week before Thanksgiving. So apparently a movie will be filming this weekend with a police escort following a vehicle that's equipped with a mounted camera with actual traffic to make it feel authentic and feel like the real thing, right?
Yeah, well, they're creating traffic to get the traffic shots, I guess, which I think is interesting. So yeah, they're going to be getting the view of 93 from Boston to Chelsea. No word on which movie this is right now, but there are so many projects working here that, I mean, it could be any of them. It could be the Liam Neeson movie Thug, to Madam Web, or Julia Season 2, Invitation to a Bonfire, The Shade, The Collaboration. I mean, there's just so many things shooting here right now. So we're not exactly sure which movie it is, but if you are going through the area, they're going to be shutting down lanes from 7 in the morning to 7 o'clock at night this Sunday. So if you are driving, to New York or Point South from here, maybe take 495, maybe go around the other way.
Or if you want to be in a movie,
just drive right through it,
yeah,
right, and be in the movie. So there's a chance that could work. So, I mean, it's just so fun.
That's the pros and cons of living in an area where filming is taking place, anywhere and everywhere. The pros is that, your neighborhood, your background, everything that you are familiar with appearing on the big screen. The downside, and we have heard downsides from folks who are a little annoyed with, their normal routes or their normal weekly destination getting interrupted or put on hold because the street's closed off or the store shut down. And so you got to take the pros with the cons.
Yeah, you do, and then and ultimately you get to have that pride when it's up on the film on the big screen, and you're like, hey, remember when we got stuck for like 2 hours trying to go across the Tobin Bridge? There I am. Yeah, can you see me cursing in the driver's seat? Like, oh, see that guy flipping the bird? That's me. Oh, wow. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Really good stuff. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that if you are heading up across the Tobin Bridge. It could be your mini big break or your vehicle's big break in the movie. Now, another project that filmed over here, and I actually wasn't quite aware of this, but there's a new movie that's based off of a Stephen King novel, Salem's Lot, that was filmed around here, and apparently it has just gotten its R rating from folks over at the MPAA. Jamie, do you know much about what this project was about? It's called Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
It seems spooky.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be violent and gory, which is, I think people who are fans of it are very excited about. So Salem's Lot, it's a story about vampires. Stephen King, famously of Maine, he writes and sets a lot of his horror, here in New England or in Maine. But this story is about author Ben Mears, who returns to Salem Lot, into his childhood home, to write a book. And he comes and he finds that his isolated hometown is now infested with vampires.
Don't you hate
that?
that?
And he has to, like... I know, right? Every time you go home and then it's just vampires everywhere. And so he has to convince a small group of people to fight the undead and reclaim his hometown. So this sounds awesome. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of blood, a lot of gore. I was aware of this one when they were shooting it back in 2021. Oh my gosh, I wanted to be in it so badly. I was actually in the running to be a vampire.
Ooh.
But sadly, I was not chosen.
Oh, no.
I was not ultimately chosen for that one. But Salem's Lot, it's shot in Ipswich, Westford, other locations in Massachusetts. I believe they also shot in California.
For those vampire surfing scenes.
Right. For the vampire, surfing scenes. Yeah, tubular, man. Tubular. They're the sharks, right?
Yeah.
They're just the
bites.
sharks of the land, that's all. But so this means the fact that it has an R rating now means that this movie is done. It's completed. It's ready to be released by Warner Brothers. However, it was supposed to be released this past September, James. It was actually had an initial release date of September 2022, and for some reason it's been on hold, and no footage has been released, no real reason why it's being kind of held indefinitely, but there are indications that we might see it next year. But we're hoping that now that we actually have a rating, that means that the movie itself is totally finished and ready for release, that, there'll be an announcement on when we can actually see this and see some of our local vampires.
Yeah, and unlike vampires, I'm sure this movie will not suck. Sorry, I had to. It was terrible.
God.
You had to. How do you not say, that in a vampire discussion?
I guess.
Now, one thing that did not disappoint either, we just watched it, and as you mentioned, you watched it in theaters, I watched it at home, Spirited, which was filmed in and around the Boston area. Right off the bat, this movie was much better than I expected, quite honestly. I don't know about, how do you feel about it?
Well, so Spirited, this is a Christmas musical starring Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, who are singing in their real voices in locations all over Boston. And yeah, I had high expectations for it because myself and my son worked on this project for a total of 7 days. Well, me 7 days, him too. So I got to watch a number of these musical numbers being filmed right in front of me. And it was so amazing. And seeing the amount of work that got put into it and how catchy the music was, I had high expectations for it. And it did not disappoint. I do feel like some parts of the movie maybe dragged a little bit, but it picks up nicely, and it's definitely entertaining. The musical numbers are great. My son is like, "This is a great movie, right, Mommy? This is amazing, right, Mommy?" I'm like, yeah, this is so cool. What did you think? Because Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell are singing, in their real voices. How do you feel they did, and how do you think of the movie overall? I want your analysis.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, this is a modern musical rendition of Charles Dickens' classic, A Christmas Carol, and there are a plethora of different versions of this tale as old as time. But I really like the twist and the take on this version, leaning into that old Christmas Carol story. But I don't know if this is a big spoiler or plot twist, but the behind-the-scenes workings of this movie I didn't know the big premise behind it. So I was, would you consider that a twist? Can we talk about that, or what do you think?
No, go ahead. Yeah.
So basically, the ghosts of past, present, and future, they work in this kind of ghost office. Ghost office that their prime goal is to redeem people who are terrible people. And so in this world, they do know about the Christmas Carol story, but it's based off of a real person, off of a real version of Scrooge. And these ghosts are kind of like, they each get replaced, or they can be replaced after certain years, and they play each of the role. And it's a big orchestrated event where they all work together with many other ghosts to try to turn somebody's life around for the better. And so that was, I was surprised by that take of it, and I thought that was a really good, refreshing twist on it, the songs were really catchy. The dancing was very top-notch, and I could very likely see a version of this rendition appear on Broadway, kind of like how Elf, which Will Ferrell starred in, also appeared on Broadway itself. I could actually see this movie's rendition of it appear on Broadway because the songs are very good, and the dancing, I was very impressed by all of it. And there are very emotional moments in the movie as well that I do think hit. And so, I was pleasantly surprised and pleasantly pleased with this version of it.
Yeah, I think the plot had, it was definitely a fresh take on the classic story. And Will Ferrell, God, I love him so much. I think he does a marvelous job as the Ghost of Christmas Present. And I think that there's wonderful chemistry between him and Ryan, who is the perp of the year, who is the media consultant who doesn't care about destroying people and people's lives to get his clients what they want. I think that he plays the character up so well, and they each embody their character so well that the chemistry feels really, really real. So like when Will Ferrell gets frustrated with Ryan not really caring that he's being haunted, there's one point where Will's like, shut your stupid mouth. What's wrong with you? Like, most people are too freaked out by this point to be such a pain in the ass. And I really like that. And the fact that, it kind of, we're not only looking at the perp's life. We're not only looking at Clint Briggs or Ryan Reynolds' character, but we're also looking at from the ghost's perspective, like you mentioned. And
the one thing I don't buy is that Ryan Reynolds is like the first person to say, this is like a Christmas Carol, and then kind of know what's going on, and they don't buy into it. They know how to like navigate it somewhat, like, oh, you're going to show me this now. You're going to show me this. It's not going to work. Like, that's the only thing that I it's kind of hard to buy. Like, how in centuries does no one else like, hey, this is a Christmas Carol. I know exactly what you're doing. Bah humbug. I'm not going to fall for what you're doing. But other than that, I thought it worked very well. I would say it maybe is 10 minutes too long. Near the end, I started feeling the runtime a little bit, but I was still having enough fun where it's very enjoyable. I think it's an excellent family movie for kids and adults. I thought the chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell worked very well. So this is a big recommendation, especially for this holiday season from me.
And especially if you worked on it. So, James, we talked last episode about how it was kind of difficult to see this movie in the theaters because it came out on the same day as Black Panther and it was a limited release. We really couldn't get tickets to see it in a theater until this past Thursday. And I went to take my son because he's in the mall scene waiting for Santa Claus. He's one of the kids in the line for Santa Claus. And it was so fun because when we went to the theater, it was packed. And not only was it packed, but it was packed with people who were also in the movie.
That's awesome.
So it's like we got to have our own little mini premiere. Afterwards, everyone's like, "Oh, look, that was me. That was me. There are my names in the credits." And we got to talk to a few of these people. One of the women was a ghost, one of the ghosts who was kind of prominently featured, and other people were like, there was another woman who said the house where Octavia Spencer's character lives, that was shot in her neighborhood, and she got to see the ghost of Yet to Be.
Tracy Morgan?
Yes, she got to see fun. Tracy Morgan.
I love Tracy Morgan's character in this movie. It was really good.
Yeah, and Tracy Morgan's kids, who are also in the movie. Ryan Reynolds' children are in the movie. Ryan Reynolds' wife is in the movie. So if you look very, very carefully in the 1800s scene, you will see Blake Lively and a few children running around, and the girls belong to Ryan and Blake Lively. So that's really cool. If you've got a sharp eye, keep an eye out for that. But yeah, we got to have this awesome experience. Everyone in the theater was like shouting and laughing, and we all kind of got to party and talk afterwards. So it's a real big point of pride. So many people worked on this movie here, so that was a wonderful part of the experience as well. Speaking of, James, we got to speak with another person who was in the movie, and she was very prominently featured, and not only was she on screen, she got to sing alongside Ryan Reynolds himself.
All right, joining us on the Hub on Hollywood, a local and professional TV and film actress, Kim Niemi, who starred in Spirited, that is out in theaters and on Apple TV. Kim, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, James and Jamie, which makes it so easy to remember.
Yeah. We like to say it's jam-packed. Every episode is jam-packed with James's and Jamie's.
So Kim, Jamie has been talking about just working on this movie for, it seems like the longest time, about working on the set, the period pieces, and now that the movie is finally out, it's great to see it in its final form. How long have you been anticipating this moment, finally, now that everyone can see Spirited and you in it?
Oh my gosh. I mean, literally since I wrapped on the day, which was more than a year ago. It was late September of 2021. But even I thought that year was hard. I mean, Tom Petty got it right, but the worst part was the past week, because I thought it was going to be out on the 11th and it was only out in New York. So I've just been oh my gosh, it's so close. Please, when?
I know exactly how you feel. So both my son and I are in this movie, and I was actually there when you were filming. I was in the 1800 scenes.
Oh, cool.
I was a street vendor, and I've been wanting so badly to take my son to the movies to see this, and we had to wait 5 extra days because
I know.
Limited release and Black Panther. I mean, it just seemed...
Yeah. And I mean, all glory to Black Panther. They deserve.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I was there isn't the Capitol in Arlington can't bump some other older movie for Spirited.
I know, right? Oh, so Kim, okay. So we've alluded to your role in the in this movie, and it's so exciting. Tell us what you got to do, what your part was here in Spirited.
So I am the 1800s pub waitress. So it was kind of interesting to be inside at, I think I don't think it's a problem to say this because they talked about filming outside of it. And people I know who've been there have already recognized the place inside the Bell in Hand.
Mm-hmm. That's right. One of the oldest bars. Yep.
Exactly. So it came in handy. And I'm I used to go there all the time and see acoustic performers and whatever. And I'm just oh my God, this is so bizarre to be in here in this, period garb. And it always looked old, right? But you're in there with modern conveniences. And then you get in there and it's dressed for the actual 1800s. And you're exactly. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's amazing. And it was a blast. It was just a dream come true. It was my first ever speaking role in a movie, and to be in a project of this magnitude with, I'm working all day on set with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell and just pinching myself and hoping not to look like an idiot, really.
And now it's speaking and singing, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and you're quite literally in the spotlight. And so what have your friends and family been saying about this? And they may not have seen it yet, but what have they been saying about this, and obviously talking about this very intricate part, especially for this song?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's going to be amazing tonight to see. I wasn't thinking when I scheduled this. I should have scheduled it for tomorrow to be we can talk about the screening. But certainly a few people have already, immediately on Apple Plus watched it yesterday and reached out. And just one of my friends was just so she's oh my God, he touched you. Oh my God. I'm I know. This was me a year ago all day long. What? Trying to look professional and freaking out on the inside.
Right. So how did you get this role? So you were talking about auditioning.
So I just, I've been auditioning for the past couple of years. I came back to the industry after a long time away in 2016. And for the past few years, I've sort of moved away from extra work and to just auditioning for more principal roles. I have audiobooks as a day job, so I don't necessarily need to, pad the space in between auditions with extra work, which is, a great thing to do, but just not something I'm doing anymore. So I had auditioned for, I think, 3 different parts.
So how many days did you work?
I think it was 2 or 3. There was a lot of, that was a weird week weather-wise. There was a lot of rain, so I was kind of on hold for a lot of it. And then we did a rehearsal one day because she had a lot of outdoor stuff to shoot. So there was a lot of is it going to rain? When's it going to rain? We got to do the outdoor stuff while it's nice. And then towards the end of the week, we had one really rainy day and we did a rehearsal day. And then the last day of the week that I was contracted for we shot everything. And it was a beautiful day, except it was 9,000 degrees and super humid.
Yes, yeah.
And
everyone's in their corsets and hoop skirts and winter gear because it's supposed to be Christmas and snowing.
You were fun with it, though. I don't know about your costume, but everything was sort of light, like sort of thin fabric. Like they were like, yeah, we got to make it look Christmassy, but it wasn't necessarily all like really heavy, fabric. So it wasn't as bad as like sometimes, it's
Right.
really like you're in a wool coat
Yeah.
and you're like, but it's 90 degrees. But I wanted to give you a corset tip also because you referenced this in the last episode. Anytime they're fitting you in a corset, just like take a big deep breath and like expand
Right.
your rib cage. Honest to God, when they're
Yeah.
like tying you in, and you just give your ribs that extra bit of room, and then when they're done, it's as tight as possible. You've left yourself a good like half inch of wiggle room to inhale and exhale without dying.
Well, that is genius. So I'll be doing that from now on.
I'll also remember that in case I ever need to put on a corset.
Period actors everywhere.
Kim, so you're born and raised in Medford. You must be thrilled that the film industry over here in Massachusetts and New England is booming and creating so many opportunities for locals and local talent, right?
Yes, 1,000,000%. Yeah, because when I started, gosh, it was like the early 90s, and there had been a couple things that came through here, but it was not what it is now. You couldn't count on so many productions coming through. And so it was frustrating because there wasn't enough work to really keep up, like to keep paying my union dues in my early 20s when I was broke was really challenging when there wasn't all that much work. So I mean, I walked away from it for about 25 years just because of so many things to do with just being young and body image issues and all of that and being frustrated. I'd sort of ended up on a musical theater track, which hadn't started out as the dream. It just became what it was because I could sing and that's kind of what was available. High school drama club is never, let's make a movie. It's here's, our
Right.
production of Grease. So yeah. So finally, when I came back a few years ago, it was because I had just like a year or two before I'd been through a cancer ordeal, and you sort of you come out of that, you lose I lost like 2 years of my life to between treatment and recovering from the treatment. You're sort of like, okay, I don't want to waste any more time. What am I doing? Why am I listening to other people's opinions of me? Why did I let myself take that in so seriously and let it affect how I felt about things when it's all exterior BS? And then at the same time on Facebook, the 2 Boston Marathon movies were being shot at the same time. So Patriots Day and Stronger were both filming. And like everybody I knew that I'd reconnected with on Facebook from like my acting days of yore was working on it. And I was having so much FOMO. Like, why am I not doing this? Why did I stop? Why have I not, I should get back in. And that was kind of the beginning of that was the decisive moment of, let me find out what I need to do and if I can do this.
No, that's awesome. That's excellent, and congratulations on overcoming cancer. It's a huge deal. So, no, this is great. And you're talking about your past theater experience. I think this movie, Spirited, is very. I was telling Jamie that I could see this movie becoming like a Broadway performance because it does feel very theatrical and very Broadway-esque. The performances and the dancing and the singing, I think it's perfect.
Well, yeah, because the composers, Pasek and Paul, wrote Dear Evan Hansen.
Oh, that'll do
it. Yeah.
Fits right in there, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just incredible watching Will and Ryan, how hard they make them work. You don't really think about it. It's like, oh, that looks, fun on the screen. But no, they do it like 50 times in a row. And they're singing and dancing, top volume. They're giving it their all. So it's just, it's wonderful to watch and learn from, from these incredible actors. So we were talking about the kinds of opportunities that there are here in New England. You've been in a number of other productions, correct?
So I had my very first co-star was in Kevin Can F Himself. And you just hear my voice. I didn't actually, the way they wanted the shot set up, I'm not actually on camera, but my voice is in there. And then I did also, I booked Spirited first, but then I also booked right after that Hocus Pocus 2, which came out first.
Right.
Have a little speaking role there.
Oh, what did you do in Hocus Pocus 2?
So once again, because my niche apparently is period holiday, I was in the first 5 minutes of the 1600s sequence
Mm.
with the young witches.
Oh, okay.
Did you see it?
Yeah, we
I
did.
did. Mm-hmm.
So I said, sorry, you probably have an episode about it, but so my line is, she cannot speak that way to a man.
Oh, that's awesome.
That
Oh,
was me.
No,
wonderful.
yeah, we also reviewed that movie, and one of the highlights we mentioned was the young three witches. They nailed their roles and their, I don't want to call it an interpretation, but they acted like their the adult version characters. So no, that's great all
Very
around.
well.
Yeah, they nailed it. They were fantastic. They were so much fun to watch too, and they're just all so sweet. They're just all the sweetest kids.
No, that's awesome. Well, no, Kim, no, this is great, and we saw on your IMDb that you have another role in The Elevator. This is a short production. What can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so this is just a fun little comedy that my friend Jackie Kernander wrote, and it's she and I and Marilyn Bush, who are three women who don't know each other and wind up stuck in an elevator together and find some common. I don't know what's the best way to say it, but to discover there's some links between us, and just circumstances as well dictate what goes down.
No, that's awesome. Where can people find you and follow you, and just to see, what else you're going to be in? Because I imagine that you're gonna be popping in a lot more stuff that we're gonna be very proud to watch and see.
From your mouth to the universe's ears. Yeah, so people can find me at my website, which is kimniemi.com. And as my mother used to say on every single phone call back in the day, it's N as in Nancy, I-E, M as in Mary, I. And also my Instagram is at Kimmy_Niemi, which is also I think my Twitter. And then Facebook, I think, is Kim Niemi Actor. I don't remember, but you can you'll find me if you search me there. You'll see my silly face.
We'll put all the links down below. So yeah, for those listening, for those watching, please check out Spirited. It's out in theaters, in select theaters, I guess, and also Apple TV. And check out Kim. She's she nails it. She's awesome, and it's a really fun ride. Kim, thank you so much for joining us on the Hub on Hollywood. We really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic opportunity, and I will definitely not forget it. And then on the last day, James, when we were all done dancing and we were all getting wrapped, I walked by Will Ferrell, who was thanking his dancers, and I shouted to him. I said, "Great dancing, Will. You did a great job." And he said, "Oh my God, thank you so much. You're so kind." And he looked up and he was thanking everybody, and he was so wonderful. I mean, the both of them were. So stick with the Hub on Hollywood, because not only do we talk about our experiences on set, but we try to get you in the movies. We have casting calls at the end of every episode. We're coming up on a holiday break, so there's not as many at the moment, but so many chances to be in the movies, James. And what better way to get the expert advice on how to start your career or spend a day on set with your favorite celebrities than talking to the casting directors themselves.
And you've mentioned his name many times on this show, Billy Dowd. He is known far and wide for his casting abilities, his casting skill. I don't know what you call it, but he's got it. Billy Dowd was a pleasure to talk to. And yeah, so he joined us on the Hub on Hollywood to talk about his career, talk about the local industry and how it's working, and why it works so well here in New England. So without further ado, here's our interview with Billy Dowd.
Billy Dowd casting, a titan in casting, okay? Billy, you've done so many amazing projects, from Good Morning Vietnam and Gladiator, G.I. Jane, Hannibal, all the way up to more recent and local works like Manchester by the Sea, Ghostbusters, The Departed, Boston Strangler last year, and Invitation to a Bonfire filming right now. Billy, thanks for being with us on the Hub on Hollywood.
Oh, you're welcome. It's nice to be here. Thank you.
So, Billy, tell us a little bit about what got you into casting in the first place.
Well, it's funny because it all started here in Boston in 1978, the year of the big blizzard. I met Billy Friedkin, the director, who was coming to town to do a movie called The Brinks Job with Peter Falk, Jenna Rowlands, Paul Sorvino, whoever. And so what happened was I spoke to him, and he said, well, we got talking about movies. We're at a party at the Copley Plaza Hotel for whatever reason, and I happened to meet him, which was great, being a movie buff that I was. And we got talking, and he said, well, gee, maybe you might come to work for me if I come to Boston on The Brinks Job. And then the blizzard came, and I heard nothing. And then I did hear, and I came to work and went to work in Boston for Billy Friedkin, who had directed, of course, The Exorcist, The French Connection. And he came to do The Brinks Job, and then he brought me to New York to do an awful movie called Cruising with Al Pacino and Karen Allen. And I stayed in New York after that, but then I started getting jobs back in Boston, which was wonderful.
Well, that's phenomenal to hear, seeing as we're a New England-based,
Right.
podcast, and there's so many opportunities here. Have you seen over the years that there's been more and more work here in New England?
Absolutely, and the thing is, James and Jamie, it's what's happened is that I never established myself having an office because I started getting jobs all over the world, which I loved. But so the people that do get the jobs here in Boston have established casting offices, of course. But over the years, you meet different people, and sometimes those people are coming to Boston to make a movie, knowing I'm local, so they hire me.
What does it take to be someone, involved in the casting? I'm sure there's a lot of decisions you have to make when trying to find the right person for the right role.
No, absolutely. And it depends, of course, on the subject matter and what it is. Like, for instance, on this movie I'm doing now, we've created a core group of 30 girls, 18 years and over, playing high school girls. It's 18 and over, so they can work the long hours, of course, that movie making requires. And so I put together that little group. Like, for instance, when I did Gladiator, I traveled all over the world with the stuntman to bring the gladiators to England and to Malta. So it always depends. And on Lincoln, Mr. Spielberg and I, we went over all the senators, everybody. So we have everybody that looked like the real senators at the time. And I love a job like that. Many are very generic, where it's just people, but a lot of them are very specific, which is wonderful.
I mean, it seems like such a daunting task, the juggling of hundreds of extras and actors.
Right.
But it sounds like you get like a thrill out of it. Like that's your passion.
I do.
How do you keep it all together?
I have no idea. But listen, it's changed so much over the years because of COVID, basically. I miss that open casting calls that I always have to meet the people and, and meet somebody physically and see what they're into and what they like to do and what they might fit into a certain scene or whatever. It's just hard to do everything online. I'm relying on people I've met in Boston over the years that are a member of Screen Actors Guild that I've kept my files, thank goodness. And a lot of those people are still around and willing to work, and they love it. They love it.
Do you have a favorite project that you've worked on so far?
Well, there's different factors. My 9 months in Costa Rica with Gerard Depardieu in 1492 was wonderful, and the times in Malta, and of course Hannibal and Florence, Italy, and I was in Spain on Kingdom of Heaven. I've done 5 in Morocco, because it always depends. But in Ridley Scott, who I've done 9 movies with, and Tony, his brother, God love him, I did 2 with him. I did one run here in Boston, American Woman, which is a fabulous movie. Sienna Miller is absolutely wonderful in it, directed by Jake Scott, Ridley's son. So I've been part of the Scott family for a while, 14 movies or so, But some of them are just some of the movies just come out so great, like Manchester by the Sea. I mean, some you can tell that in another local one I did, The Way, Way Back, a wonderful movie that not many people have seen. And Thoroughbreds, that was done in Cohasset, wonderful local stuff, Not so much Jungle Land. That one didn't come out so good, but other and that was directed by Henry Winkler's son, by the way. Haven't heard much about him since then, but he was very nice, Oh, and Olive Kittredge was another one that just came out so great, And some of them are my favorites, of course, and I got wonderful locations. Like I go to Utah on After Earth, which myself and no one saw, with Will Smith and his son, and others. Like another local one that I'm looking on my website here. Another local one, Company Men, really relevant and really good. With Ben Affleck and Tommy Lee Jones and Kevin Costner. We filmed in Quincy and Marblehead and Dedham, I remember, Yeah, of course, The Departed, everyone knows that one. But I don't know, I sort of go at each one of them as a challenge in a way. And some are more hands-on with the director than others. I mean, Ridley over the years has just given it over to me. He trusts me and to do whatever I do, you know. But others, I meet directors for the first time, like, you know, and you want to work very closely with them. They tell me what they're looking for, how they see it. And same if there's a palette with the production manager or whatever. And sometimes you'll do research. And I remember Ridley had us watch I forget the name of it when we were doing, I don't know. Oh, another one, Black Hawk Down. Fabulous movie. Anyhow, I don't want to go on about myself. I love what I do, and I get into it, and I really I interact with people very readily, and I enjoy it. You know what I mean? And I do like the challenges. And for instance, like when I just got back from Bulgaria on the movie about the first woman to swim the English Channel, Trudy Eberle. I mean, quite a challenge, but to do it in a foreign country is even more so. It's wonderful, you know?
Do you learn the languages?
I know dobro utro to say hello in Bulgarian and very little else, but I always have to have an interpreter, you know?
Have you ever had to fight for an actor that you wanted to cast for a role when the director wasn't quite sure that the role was right for them?
It happens sometimes, you know what I mean? Yeah, and the director might ask for my recommendation if there's going to be an upgrade, or do you have someone that can do this? Can you trust this one to do this? Yeah, things like that happen, but we always commiserate on these things, you know what I mean? So like for instance, the group of the 30 girls that are working, and I think they're all having a ball. And we actually do the dance scene on Thursday. I think it's going to be great because the movie I'm on now is 1930. And so when you do a movie like this, you're very restricted oftentimes with the costumes, the sizes. People have gotten larger. I mean, for instance, when I did Glory, the women extras in Glory, some of them had the exact same dresses on that the extras wore in Gone with the Wind.
Wow.
Unbelievable stuff. I know. We get these things from the costume houses and all that, you know. Yeah, so some of these costumes, there's a lot of restrictions along the way, you know. There really are. But it's been a good gig for me. I've really, really liked it. And it's funny because it was just a coincidence. I mean, at the time, 1978, I mean, Robert Q. Crane was state treasurer, I remember, and Mary Lou, his daughter, was an old childhood friend of mine, was a film office woman, and that's why I was at that party at the Copley to meet Friedkin. But an even better one that came in my life was I was at the Cactus Club in New York. I'd gone to the screening of Thelma and Louise, and there was nowhere to sit at the banquet afterwards, and I ended up sitting next to Ridley Scott, and that's why I ended up doing 9 movies with him.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know. That one was just a coincidence, you know, and oh my God, look what happens in your life. You know what I mean?
A lot of this business is, you know, being in the right place at the right time and being near, literally, the right people.
Absolutely, James. You know, including everyone in the acting profession, and some people fall into it. Some people bust their humps for years and get nowhere. A lot of it is luck. Some of it's talent, of course. You know, you hear all the different stories of people's careers, how they get into it, and all that. You know, I did get Bruce Willis into the Screen Actors Guild. That's one of my proud things.
Oh, nice.
When I lived in New York City.
I need to hear that story.
Well, I was doing a movie called First Deadly Sin, which I don't get credit on. And get this, it's Frank Sinatra, Faye Dunaway, and this guy David Duke's not that David Duke, but another David Duke, the actor, played the killer in this movie. And of course, the actors don't work. Well, some of them do work all night. So I needed to get a photo double, and that photo double ended up being Bruce Willis. He was a similar height, weight, and he shaved his head. He got into Screen Actors Guild, and I used him as a roller skating cop in a George Segal thing. I forget the name of it. I didn't get credit on that one. But anyhow, I did run into Bruce Willis since then, and he's done very well. It's too bad he's ill right now.
He's done pretty
okay.
well for himself.
He might go places. Yeah, really. But no, it's a wonderful business. It's very frustrating at times. You know, I was in Oklahoma for 6 months on Killers of the Flower Moon, and we're stuck in the middle of nowhere. Bartlesville, Oklahoma. People are lovely, but it's in the middle of nowhere. So it's tough sometimes being on a location like that, you know? Mm-hmm. It really is. But then you get other fabulous locations like Manchester by the Sea and the way back and things around Massachusetts, you know? Mm-hmm. But I find the pool of people here, you know, they really, really enjoy it, you know? And some people know how to behave on set. Some don't. You have to weed those things out, of course, as you go along, you know. But, it's an exciting career that I've had. It really is.
That's
taken
fabulous.
me lots of places.
I feel a lot of it too is having like that great attitude, and and you're amazing, Billy. I love interacting with you every single
You're
time.
so nice to say that, Jamie. That's nice.
So, and I guess one of my last questions here would just be, what advice do you have for those people who are either trying to break in, who are interested either in acting or casting or anything in film?
Right.
Do you have?
Yeah, no, sorry to interrupt, Jane, but I know what you mean. And no, the only thing I can think is to keep, like, if you're going to do extra work, and of course everybody wants to do more than extra work, you know what I mean? But if you want to do more than extra work, then you need to take some acting classes or get a reel, and get it into whoever needs to see it. But yeah, and some people, they luck out becoming a stand-in for a whole movie if you're the same height, weight, and hair color as the actors, as you know, Jamie. And some people get on board with the leading actress and they work for months on end, which is a really good gig. But as far as like getting parts, it's a tough one locally. It really is. I mean, a lot of times they bring actors in from New York or L.A., which I don't understand. But there's some very good casting people around town. They've been casting all the bit parts that they can, and I think they put out a call. And so if you think you're right for something, then submit, of course, But just making sure your information and your photos are up to date. You don't like to be tricked into thinking someone's who they aren't.
Right.
Let me ask you this, because Jamie and I have interviewed local New England actors, and they've said that with how popular and prevalent filming has become over here in New England, they don't feel the need to go to Hollywood. They see the opportunities here. What do you think about that?
Well, there are the other opportunities here because of the what do you call it? The film
tax credit.
Yeah, the tax credit. That's the reason the movies are here. That's the reason I went with Disney to Bulgaria, because it's so cheap to make a movie there. No, but because it is funny. I go to the theater a lot in Boston. I even go to the local theater. And I see so many good people in these plays, and I wonder why they're not in some of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how it all works locally so much. I mean, whenever I've cast parts, which I've done quite a bit over the years, you bring them in, you put them on tape, and then show it to the director, and maybe bring them back. And so they do that here, like Boston Casting, CP Casting, and all those. I know they put out calls oftentimes and have people come in and read, but it's perseverance, I think. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But some people just enjoy doing extra work, which I admire. And it's great when you see those people. And some, unfortunately, I come back to Boston not having worked for a couple of years, and some of my favorites aren't with us anymore. As life goes. But yeah, no, the people of Boston that do extra work and bit parts and all that, I think they're terrific. They really are.
No, I agree. I've met some amazing people on set, and James and I, we're journalists by trade, and there are a number of people that are broadcasters too. That we do this on the side, and
right.
And it's just it's so much fun to get to know the people on set and the people behind the scenes. It's just. I love New England. And
yeah, that's great to hear that. I mean, if you're interested in movie making, just the fascination of being on set, and then being part of it, I think, and then waiting for the movie to come out and see if you're in there. It's a wonderful business, and I really love when I get to come and work in Boston. So, like, for instance, the guys that I'm working with that hired me on this one, I had done the way back with. You know what I mean? So It's just funny how these come around. The woman that was producing Ghostbusters, I had done G.I. Jane with years ago. Oh, and I'm in 2 movies.
Are you?
I mean, yeah, Ridley put me in Gladiator. I have a speaking role. I even had to dub it. Wait till you see me. I have a black wig, white makeup, a gold robe on with chains and stuff, and I'm telling all the people to come to the arena to see Maximus make a fool of the Emperor.
Oh my God! Now I gotta go watch it again.
This afternoon.
You'll hear me before you see me. I'm only in it for like 2 seconds, but it's right. And then Ridley put me in G.I. Jane for the hell of it. I step out of the bushes when to me drives onto the beach and is accused of being a lesbian by Anne Bancroft. I'm the photographer that takes the pictures. So dated now. It's so silly, but to me it was fabulous. She really was. It's been a pleasure and an honor for me to work with so many wonderful people. I mean, Anthony Hopkins couldn't be nicer. Russell's great, a little rough around the edges, but he's terrific. To me, it was wonderful. I've done 5 with Denzel. Do you know what I mean? and
Right.
one in Thailand with him, the American Gangster one. And yeah, it's just wonderful to interact with these people. I mean, of course, they forget about you as soon as the job's done, but for the moment, it's fun. You know?
I can't imagine that anyone would forget you, Billy. So.
Oh yeah, I don't know, Jamie. Well, yeah, you're so nice to say.
Well,
That's
thank
so
you
funny.
so much. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
For
It's great to talk to you guys. Yeah, I'm honored that you thought of me. Thank you.
Yeah, and now I'm a little bit more starstruck than I was before. I'm like, oh my God.
Good. Okay.
We're gonna go watch Gladiator now.
Oh yeah, good luck with. Yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? That's when I think that's 22 years ago. Blows my mind.
God.
Really, but 6 months in Malta.
time goes
Billy, thank you so much.
Hey, welcome. Thank you so much, you guys. I was honored to let me do it. All right.
All right, have a
All right,
wonderful week.
Thank you.
Thanks to Billy. He's just a big guy in the game. We're so happy to have him here in New England. And like we mentioned, he is currently casting a project called Invitation to a Bonfire. So looking forward to that. They recently did Boston Strangler. We'll bring all of those to you when they finally come out, James.
Absolutely.
So,
and for those that are listening, if you are local talents, if you are an actor, a background actor, if you are a filmmaker here in New England, please join us on the Hub on Hollywood. We would love to talk to you, talk about your experience, talk about your past and future projects, because that's what we're here for, to highlight the local talent that is just popping up in more and more projects, from the TV screen to the big-time movie screen. So reach out to us at Hub on Hollywood. We are on all the social media platforms, Twitter. For as long as Twitter does exist, we are on Twitter at the moment, at Hub on Hollywood. Also on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of those. So check us out, reach out to us, and hopefully we can get you on the Hub on Hollywood. But Jamie, I think that's a jam-packed episode. Very great stuff out there. Thank you so much. Like we said, it is the holiday season, so maybe a little bit until we come back. But yeah, be sure to stick around and follow us and keep track.
that's right, James. Have a wonderful holiday season. Enjoy the movies that are out there and the movies yet to come. Talk to us about it on the socials, and we'll bring you in on the conversation. Merry ho ho ho. Well, we're not there yet. Enjoy the turkey. Happy Thanksgiving. And we will see you guys soon on the Hub on Hollywood. Until then, I'm Jamie.
I'm James. Bye.
See ya.